Whoever they give me to fight, but eventually I'd like to fight Jones again and try to avenge the first loss.
So you really want that, Jon Jones?
Yeah, I mean, I think every guy in the division wants to fight him. He has been the champ for a long time, and anytime a guy's a long-time champion, you want to be the one to beat him.
And how do you feel about Jon Jones' little fiasco, him stepping off and not being able to step into the octagon?
Well, man, people make mistakes. Hopefully this is the mistake that Jon learned from and he comes back a better person. We all know he can fight. Hopefully clean up the things outside of the octagon and be all right.
And that's next. That's on your plate.
Yeah.
And anything you want to tell the fans about Gustafsson?
No, he's a good fighter. He's a tough guy. He's gonna be very motivated for the second opportunity. I know how it was when I got my second chance, so I know the type of motivation he's gonna have, being that this is gonna be his second opportunity to become the champion. So I anticipate a very tough fight and the best Alexander Gustafsson that we've ever seen.
So after the Jon Jones loss, you were hungry?
I was very hungry. Yeah.
Question. I'm gonna let you go get your hair cut.
All right.
But how do you feel about how he matched up with Anthony Johnson versus the way you did? Do you feel like he didn't do well in that fight? Well, he gave up?
Obviously, he didn't have his best fight. But I think it all came down to one mistake. With a guy like Anthony Johnson, if you make a mistake, the fight's over. So I think Alexander made a mistake. If they fought 10 times, I'm sure they would. The results would vary. Made a mistake. That's all it was.
That's all it was.
I didn't make any mistakes.
Well, thanks for your time, champ, and can't wait to see your new haircut.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Stipe Miocic versus Daniel Cormier. Stipe Miocic is the current UFC heavyweight champion of the world on a 4-fight winning streak, and he's beaten the likes of Mark Hunt, Andre Arlovski, Fabricio Verdum, and even knocked out Alistair Overeem. And he's a really fast heavyweight. He's got great hand speed, and at 34 years old, he is the baddest man on the planet. While Daniel Cormier is the current UFC light heavyweight champion of the world, he's a former heavyweight UFC fighter, and he was never defeated at heavyweight. If you remember the Roy Nelson fight, you remember Daniel Cormier weighing in at 224 pounds and being a smaller heavyweight. People used to call him the Black Fedor. That was the nickname we used to hear. We used to hear that ring. We don't hear that anymore. And this was all due to Daniel giving his friend, Cain Velasquez, a shot at the title. And he wanted Cain to win the heavyweight championship. And that just didn't happen. Daniel Cormier did what he set out to do. And he said he was going to become the light heavyweight champion of the world, and he's done so. And he's won 4 in a row as well, defeating legends like Anderson Silva, great fighters like Alexander Gustafsson and Anthony Johnson twice. And, though he never got to fight Jon Jones because of Jon Jones' problems, things that are not Daniel Cormier's fault, his only loss in his career is to Jon Jones, and that's something that haunts him. That's something that he really wants to avenge. Now, if you remember UFC 210, you remember the weigh-in, we remember Daniel Cormier weighing in at 206.2 pounds, and if you watched Embedded, you heard him mutter the words, "I'm never doing this again. I'm going up." He didn't say he's going up, but he said he's never fighting at 205 pounds again. And you got to wonder, what does that mean? Does he need to go back up to heavyweight at 38 years old? Is he too old to continue dropping weight and fighting at 205 pounds? And if that's the case, I have to bring this fight up, and I want to talk about a super fight between Stipe Miocic and Daniel Cormier. Daniel Cormier is a beast. He's an Olympic wrestler who is able to pick up all of his opponents. We've seen highlights of everybody getting taken up, thrown down, guys like Dan Henderson, legends like Dan Henderson, who were undersized, were just severely tossed around, while even guys as big as Alexander Gustafsson, a 6'5" fighter, was taken off of his feet and dropped. Stipe Miocic is 6'4". Would Daniel Cormier be able to go in there and survive with a heavyweight like Stipe Miocic? And we know the answer is yes. We know that Daniel Cormier was able to go out there and beat up heavyweights. He was the ex-Strikeforce champion. He beat Josh Barnett. He beat Frank Mir, Roy Nelson. And he could have continued. He could have kept on beating these heavyweights. And we will always wonder if he could have continued and if he could have beaten a Stipe Miocic. Now, this would be a super fight. Stipe Miocic is the champ. DC is the champ. And if Stipe beats Junior Dos Santos and DC wants to move up to heavyweight, then this fight can become a reality. And I want to ask you guys, the fans, if you think that DC has the skills to survive with a guy like Stipe? Would he use his wrestling prowess? Would Stipe be able to handle a wrestler like Daniel Cormier? He doesn't really face top-level wrestlers like Daniel Cormier in the division. We've seen him fight tremendous strikers like Mark Hunt and great jiu-jitsu guys like Fabricio Verdum, great kickboxers like Alistair Overeem. But would he be able to survive with a guy like Daniel Cormier, a guy who can throw heavy shots and also take heavy shots, also take you down, beat you up, submit you there? I would go with DC. I think DC could beat Stipe, and I would love to see this fight. What about you?